How can we educate our children in a modern 21st century? I'm Tal. I cherish my Judaism. And I think that we shouldn't need the world to remind us that we're Jewish. I think it should be an essential part of our identity. I think we have to find ways to instill that in our children and set them on a lifelong path of learning and connection. I want our children to feel the power of being part of the Jewish people. For me, this cause became essential when I moved to Italy to a small community. I was newly married and I had small children, and I really didn't know how I was going to educate my children. I fell pregnant at 40 with our youngest child, and we had this beautiful baby boy. And I looked down on him and I wondered how he was going to own his heritage. Was he going to know Hebrew, or was he just going to become a Jewish observer? I knew I wanted him to be an active participant in the Jewish people. And I wanted to be as proactive as possible in determining our future identity as a family. But the clock was ticking. As a doer, a problem solver, being an entrepreneur is part of my identity. I knew that if I could figure out the right elements, I could put together a paradigm. I knew that if I could, the solution would serve thousands of children. In the beginning, I wanted to curate my children's education. So I went in search of the best programs I could find and the best teachers, and I started lessons online. As time went by, I realized there were so many children in Europe, or even on the same time zone as us, who could benefit from this high level of education. So I set in motion a paradigm to revolutionize Jewish education in Europe. When I grew up, I inherited my heritage from being part of a larger community. It helped inform my sense of connection to the broader Jewish people. It led me to think, what are the markers for building and retaining identity? How was I going to overcome this challenge of children in smaller communities with no large community around them? How are we going to provide our children with the skills to set on a lifelong path of Jewish learning and connection? So I established the Zehud online Jewish school. We spare no resource in creating and acquiring the best programs we can find, and we source the most experienced teaching staff that is available. We want to set our children on a lifelong path of Jewish learning and connection. We should all have access to our heritage because it belongs to us all. Our school provides us with educational choices we did not have before. Children are now coming together from across the globe, children of different ages and stages, learning our stories, our language and our songs together. I'm very proud of my students, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about some of them. We have a little boy who lives in a village with no community. He has wonderful parents, and he registered to our school some time ago. And I remember receiving a voice message from his teacher one morning. She wanted to share with me a conversation that she'd had with the little boy that morning. And in the voice message, the little boy was talking about how he wakes up in the morning and he gets washed and he eats his breakfast. And I couldn't believe the very simple Hebrew conversation that they were having after only 6 months of being immersed in Hebrew language lessons. To me, it was the most remarkable thing because he had only been learning for 6 months and he was 8 years old. Another lovely story is about the girl in my son's class who, when she celebrated her bat mitzvah, we drove over to celebrate her bat mitzvah with her. And so it's true that our children, though they're not together all the time, we do have occasions to have common experiences. How many children are there living out in different environments without access to high-quality education? At a click of a button, their lineage and continuity can come alive. No Jewish child should be far away from their essence. You can be anywhere today and provide your kids with a Jewish education. Our children log into classes each week in Hebrew, the festivals, Torah, Tefillah, the weekly portion, and now also Mishnah. The end result is that our children are speaking Hebrew. They are making social connections. When the Chagim roll by, they are full participants in the festival. When Shabbat comes by, they can speak intelligently about the weekly portion. As the founder of the school, this means everything. I know that it can be hard to create an out-of-the-box solution. Join the revolution of the Jewish education in Europe. We are taking the future in our hands to create a new world.